as we sit here today, you cannot point to any specific evidence that points to Mr. Dow committing the murder of Miss Larson in California, correct?
Well, I think that if I were to try him in this courtroom, I'd convict him every day of the week.
Okay. But as we sit here today, you cannot identify any specific evidence that tied Mr. Dow to the murder of Miss Larson besides this alleged story that's been recanted by Mr. Mouton, correct?
I would 100% disagree with that statement.
Okay, what, in your opinion, what other evidence supported your belief at the time that Mr. Dow was involved in the murder of Miss Larson?
Well, the bad acts evidence that was presented in the trial against Mr. Dow here indicated that after Mr. Mathis was indicted, that his lawyer, Mr. Brower, called Lieutenant Larson's phone and asked to speak to Mr. Dow, and she handed the phone to Mr. Dow. Shortly thereafter, after that conversation, Marty Hart then calls because he's going to be Mr. Dow's lawyer. Danae answers the phone, hands the phone to Mr. Dow. Mr. Dow then proceeds to execute Miss Larson by shooting her in the head, dumping her out of the car, taking the car to the same general location where this murder scene car was dumped and burning it in the same manner. That was the basis for the bad acts motion. Mr. Mouton was not really the basis for the bad acts motion.
But you also used the alleged statements of Mr. Mouton in your bad acts motion, correct?
I may or may not have. I haven't reviewed the bad acts motion.
Okay. And you agree that there's no forensic evidence that you ever found tying Mr. Dow to the murder of Miss Larson, correct?
Depends what your definition of forensic evidence is. I have the phone records and the 911 call establishing the timeline. So, I mean, to me, that's forensic, right? That's not a witness. That's just evidence.
Okay, but you don't have any DNA that Mr. Dow committed the murder of Miss Larson, correct?
Right, the car was torched. It was burnt.
You don't have any fingerprint evidence, correct?
Because the car was burned. Correct.
Okay. You don't have any firearm evidence or murder weapon evidence that Mr. Dow allegedly ever had in relation to her?
Well, I knew Mr. Dow had access to a handgun as well as an AR-15, but I don't believe, or a AK-47. And I believe that it was a similar caliber weapon. I don't know if it was the same gun.
Now, do you hear this bitch again? Where in the fuck did you see a gun at? Who put a gun in Andre Dow's hand? Who at any time justified that I had a gun? Where in the fuck is this imaginary gun coming from? And now let me give you about the phone records. The phone records show that when the 911 call was made, they run my phone records. The co-defendant, Coleon, was calling me 2 minutes after the 911 call. He called back. I called him. Bitch, if we together, why is he calling my phone? How are we communicating if we're together? So the phone records show that.
Thank you for using Securus. Goodbye.
Back to that. In the scope of your duties as a prosecutor, you regularly direct agents such as investigators, detectives, and process servers to conduct specific tasks, correct?
I can direct my investigator or any employee of the Clark County District Attorney's Office to do specific tasks. I have no authority to direct anybody else to do one.
In fact, you have actually yourself participated in investigations in cases, correct?
I have.
And you participated in the investigation of the case involving Mr. Dow, correct?
Well, Mr. Dow was indicted and in district court long before I got assigned to it. So when you use the term investigation, I take that usually to mean the investigation pre-arrest, pre-indictment, pre-charge. Once the charge is there, it's just the prosecution in my mind.
But you continue to investigate a case prior to a jury trial, correct?
I continue to look for evidence that may be relevant, yes.
Okay. And especially when, in a case such as this, when you were using an alleged bad act that occurred outside of this state, correct?
I don't know what makes it particular about that. I believe I probably have the legal authority to charge Mr. Dow with that murder, but I haven't.
Okay. And
Now, let me explain something to y'all. See how he made that question so complicated? Did you do an investigation? He wanted to try to go all around that. Bitch, you did an investigation. Now, let me share something with you about the bigot. See, during the Brady, would he claim he don't know, or it was investigated before he got on? You are responsible for all that. Y'all are working as a team. So if he take the baton and pass it to another demon to run, they are still held to the same accountability. You are supposed to know what everybody else know, and whatever they don't know, you should know. That is Brady. You can't say you didn't know, you didn't have it. The other agencies, are trying to pass the buck. Oh, well, I don't have no power over these people. You got power over the case. You are the prosecutor. And according to Brady and his progeny, the prosecuting team is defined as an acting of the government behalf in the case, including the police, and the individual prosecutor has a duty to learn any favorable evidence known to the others acting in the government's behalf in the case. The prosecutor will be deemed to be in possession of favorable material evidence that is known only to the police investigators and not the prosecutor. So, regardless of him saying, oh, the police in another state had that and I didn't have no knowledge of it, or that's not on me, all I know is what goes on in Las Vegas. Not true, because here's the thing. All of these bitches was working together. Everybody came together. Let me give you the list of the motherfuckers that came together. You had the Clark County District Attorney's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the California Highway Patrol, the San Francisco Police Department, the Fairfield Police Department, the Richmond Police Department, California, Vallejo Police Department, California, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. All of these people came together against me. Then he brings up a bad acts, which is a 48.045, if my memory serves me correctly. And a prior bad acts is only to prove opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence, things of that nature. Now, in the prior bad acts, it has to be relevant to the crime, the purpose in proving the defendants, not to say a propensity that I have the inclination to commit crimes. Nah. That's bad. That's prejudicial right there. The act must be proven with clear and convincing evidence. And the probative evidence will not substantially outweigh, let me say this, the probative value of the evidence is not substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. Now, with all that said, no matter what this racist ass Waubi is saying up there, the nigga is in jail from November the 28th to December the 7th. He had this man testify that he saw me December the 5th. It doesn't matter what comes out of this bigot mouth. Your paid informant was in jail. He was not on the street December the 5th. So all this shit that he's saying, the bottom line is this. Your investigation was rogue, bogus, and highly inflammatory. You're disrespectful to every rule of law. Your snitch was in jail from November the 28th to December the 7th. It ain't no way out of that. And like I've been saying, if I'm a white boy, ain't no motherfucking way in the world that I'm here. But because of my pigmentation and hue, this is what they do. This is what they do. It ain't just us, it's only us. If I wasn't a nigga, I'd be on the street. If I was a white boy, I'd be on the... If I wasn't a nigga, I would not be in jail, period. If I was a white boy, I'm on the block right now. I wouldn't even been charged for this. Michelle Levin would have had a fit if I was a white boy. There's no way. We have government records. The bitch would be defending me. She'll turn into a real fair judge. Oh, there's no way. This guy's in jail and he's saying this. I'm going to dismiss this case. This bitch got me going through it. So I'm hopeful, and I believe that the Nevada Supreme Court will do the right things. Because if this goes to the feds, hey man, all the motherfuckers in the rap game, all the motherfuckers in the entertainment game that know me, man, y'all better jump up and say something now. And I know motherfuckers is waiting on this one. They waiting on this decision right here. They waiting to see what they do. Because this right here gonna let you know what this state is about. That's where we at right now. We gonna go by the right thing or we gonna do the white thing.